10 Canva tips and tricks that really helped me with my KDP journey, which I also wanted to share with you guys. After I recorded this, the video itself was quite long, so I will divide it into part 1 and part 2, which will have 5 tips each. I really wanted to talk about some Canva shortcuts that I use really frequently and has saved me a lot of time. So the first one is T. By pressing T, you can get this text function to pop up. And the second one is R. R brings up a rectangle that you can use, and I normally use this if I have an image with text and I don't really want that text to be there. I kind of just use a rectangle to cover that up, like that. C is something I use regularly as well. I normally use this for my covers, and I put a quick description like 40 activities or dot markers, scissor activities, etc. to kind of describe what's inside the interior and to grab the audience's attention. And I'm sure you guys know, but the Control C and Control V is a copy and paste function. Control X is a cut function, which just removes what's there but also copies it. So you can later copy it and paste it again. So those are some shortcuts that I'm sure you will find handy for the future. I've just opened up a 8.5 by 11 inch page, and the first tip that I'm going to talk about is how to make a grayscale coloring book. So if you guys saw my KDP niche YouTube video, which is also linked in the description below, I talk about grayscale coloring book as a niche within coloring book, and it's something that a lot of people haven't tapped into yet, so I'm going to show you guys how to create one. Right now I have gone to pixabay.com. I have searched the keywords watercolor scenery, and I really like this this picture, so I'm going to download it. Free download. You download that, go back to Canva, and you can easily drag it into Canva. And here we go. So if I want to make this into a grayscale coloring book, then I will essentially just cover this page with the drawing first. And then edit image, filters, then you go down and there's this grayscale option. There you go, you have your first grayscale coloring book page. And you can just essentially find a lot of nice illustrations and make it into a grayscale image, and you have your grayscale coloring book. For the second tip, I am going to talk about how to edit and kind of change the appearance of words and letters and fonts. So what I normally use for a children's coloring book is the font Chewy. It just is really kid-like and very cute, so it's something I use very often. And from this you go to effects, and you can, for example, curve it and use this scale to kind of change the amount of curve you want, so like that, for example. And you can say from animals. And then from here, another thing I like to do is if you go to a lot of kids' books, you can see that white outline around the word Halloween, an activity book for kids ages 6 to 10. So this outline is something I do frequently for my books as well. And to do this, you just need to go to effects again, splice. And from here, the color you choose here will be the interior color. So let's say I want it to be, this dark green color, but I want my outline to be white. Then you go to text color and you change it to white. Go back to effects, and you kind of need to move around on this offset function and try to figure out where the insides would reach the borders of the text. And for me, it will be 0 offset. And thickness, you can increase it a lot, and you can see that an outline is already being formed. There we go. So this is something I use regularly for my children book cover, but I use Splice for making coloring pages as well. So let's say I want to make an inspirational, motivational, or like a swearing coloring book, then I would find a background. So here I'm just going to use a mandala. And then let's say I just want to, write, you can do it. Yep, then you go to effects again, you go to splice. I want the inside to be white, and I want the outside to be black, which it already is. And then I'm going to make the offset 0 and the direction 0 as well. So you can see now the text has a white inside, which means people who are coloring, they can color inside the text as well. And this is what I do for a lot of my coloring books that have words on it. Sometimes when you download coloring pages made in this way, it's not a flattened PDF file. So when you put it on KDP and you look into the preview, you'll see the back, you'll see like the mandala actually kind of like seeping through the text. It doesn't look that great. And what you can do is you go to Google and type, online PDF flatten pages or something. And there's so many sites where you can upload your PDF and the site would actually flatten your PDF and you can upload that version onto KDP. It doesn't happen regularly, but sometimes I did notice that the back lines of the mandala would kind of seep through the text. So that's something you guys should note and check in your preview before you upload it onto KDP. So my third tip is transparency. I normally use this when I'm creating like a vintage book, and the reason I use it for is to kind of create like a dusty effect on my cover or my interior. So for example, if I want this to have like a rusty effect, then what I do is, let me just quickly create something, and I'm going to just copy this through. And I want to create like a rusty effect on top. I just type vintage on to the elements bar. I choose a brown or very vintage looking image, and then I cover the whole page with that, and I make the transparency lower. So now you can kind of see like that rusty effect. Yeah. So let's say I like this, then you're done. Like you have this rusty effect on top of the text, and if you have images below, it makes whatever image you have below have that rusty effect, rusty and kind of like vintage effect as well. My fourth tip is uploading PDFs onto Canva. So this is really helpful when you do want to customize an interior you have, whether you bought it from Creative Fabrica or you got it from BookBolt. If you have an interior that you want to customize, you can just go to Create Design, Import PDF. I've already done that just to save time, and I got this from BookBolt. It is the wide rule, no bleed, lined interior, and as you can see, I've already done some kind of customization. But what I essentially did was, from this page, I just typed unicorn, and I tried to find a black and white illustration, which was this one. Then I flipped it and I put it in the corner. And, within those 1 minute, I was able to create a customized interior page for a unicorn notebook or unicorn primary notebook. Now, tip number 5 is filtering for color or a free and pro illustration. So when you go elements and you search for something, let's say, food, then you can always click this filter button and you can filter it for a square or vertical or horizontal orientation, or a static or animated animation status, or a free or pro account. So if you do have a free account, then you would want to press free so you don't get a lot of pro illustrations.